good afternoon. My name is Brendan Donahue. I'm the Managing Director of the NBA 2K League. We are very excited. We actually just completed our first season. And so invariably, whenever I am asked to explain, what exactly are you guys doing? And so I always kind of go back to January and explain some things. And so we had tryouts. And it started in January, and anyone in the world could try out. And so 2K had data, and they basically figured out we had about 10,000 people who would likely try out. Well, so 72,000 people actually tried out. And so we went from 72,000 players, all incredible 2K players, and we got that down to 102 players in about 2 months. And then we took those 102 players, and we had a draft, no different than an NBA draft that many of you have seen, likely. And so we had our 17 NBA teams who would sign up for year one, and they came to New York, and they drafted 6 players. That was their team. And then those players then live in one of the 17 markets. And so they engage no different than our NBA players in their own markets. And so, and then we fly them in on weekends, and they compete. They get at the best 102 players in the world, get after it and compete on our stage in New York. And so, and we had a 17-week season, and then it just led us up to our championship, where we crowned our first champion on August 25th. And so that all those facts, while that excites me, I think it actually doesn't really hit home the point. So I'd rather actually show you what the studio environment looks like.
Live from New York City, it's the inaugural season of the NBA 2K League. Players will be coming downstairs, and they'll be getting ready to lock in and lock up.
Magic and Tyre take the lead. They throw it off, and Cam throws it down. They go to Boo in the paint, and he will dunk it all over Steve's. Here come the Knicks on the break.
Trying to do a little too much there.
Yay, not, no, get it out of here. Hood, the blow ball, 360. I'm dead. Great hands by the Jazz. And compete by. Have you met Mel East? Yusuf all alone. Can't hit. They don't have a timeout. They got to go. 4, 3, 2, 1. Grab for the win. Here we go. Plays are 5.
So as you can see, our studio does not lack excitement. So that's a normal weekend for us throughout the summer. And so that all brought us to this point, which was back again August 25th, when Knicks Gaming actually became our first ever NBA 2K League champion. And it really was an amazing season. It was a Cinderella story, actually, because the Knicks were we had 8 playoff teams. They were the 8th seed in the playoffs, and they had several upsets actually win the championship and walk away with the crown. And so it was a great season for us and to get to that finals. And the other encouraging thing was, we saw growth throughout the entire season. And so that finals day, we actually had about 650,000 unique viewers that watched the NBA 2K League finals. And so we were ecstatic with that. And so I thought it would be best to quickly walk through kind of a couple things. One is just, why did the NBA and 2K get into esports and start a league? Secondly, kind of what we learned in season 1. And then lastly, just give you a glimpse into what we're looking to do moving forward and how we fully expect to make the 2K League a global entity and a global league. So why did we launch the NBA 2K League? So there's several reasons. One is, the NBA definitely prides itself on being a very innovative and forward-thinking league. And so we had been studying esports for 3-4 years now, and we saw what all of you in the room have seen, which is the fact that it's hockey stick growth of just explosive growth. And so we saw a place in that. And then the other interesting thing was we have across the globe we have 1.5 billion NBA fans. And that's an audience that we think we can engage with. And when we looked at our research, what we found was they were an audience that had a tendency to gaming and also had an openness to esports. So that gave us a lot of comfort in moving forward as well. And then the last piece is, of course, the game itself. So 2K has, as you see here, has experienced just growth consistently over the last 10 years. This past year, over 10 million copies of the console version sold. Over 25% of that actually sold outside of North America. And so it's the #1 sports video game in the North America, and actually #2, just trailing behind FIFA across the globe. And then the last piece, which is really important, is our NBA owners. So our NBA owners are extremely bullish on esports. And so while we had, when we initially took teams on, we thought we might have 8 or 12 teams join for season 1. We were ecstatic when we had 17 join. And we've actually have 4 more joining in season 2. But our NBA owners are actually bullish on esports more broadly. While they're certainly bullish on the NBA 2K League, of course, as you see from here, they're invested in several other several other esports titles around the globe. So a perfect example is actually, when League of Legends awarded 10 franchises recently, 7 of those teams had NBA owners involved. So it just shows kind of how they're more bullish on esports globally. So that led us to this. So the NBA and Take-Two, joining forces to create the NBA 2K League. This picture specifically with Adam Silver and Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two, that was actually on our launch day. This was actually at the draft, where I mentioned those 102 players. And a couple interesting things here is, on that day we used Twitch and NBA TV to broadcast the draft. We had 450,000 viewers actually watch. 46% of those actually were outside of North America. So really it suggests the global appetite for both the league and the game. So that led us to this. And so this is actually, Adam is very, very excited about this league. This is actually him in our studio. So we became the first traditional sports league to jump in and started an esports league. And so we actually had a lot of built-in advantages, we thought, to doing that. First off was, just our relationships we have with partners. Whether it is our NBA headquarters in New York, or we have 13 offices all over the globe. We have regional offices where we have great relationships with partners. And so invariably when we talk to partners, they would say, listen, we're interested in esports. We're interested in investing in esports. We just don't know how to do it. And so, but the good thing is we had trust. And so we had great relationships and trust. And so we helped them navigate how to enter into esports, and to make sure we told them very, very candidly that don't try to buy an audience here. Don't try to buy a segment, because that's not going to work here. So we try to help them thoughtfully approach esports from a partnership perspective. And we're excited to say in year 1, we were able at the team and league level to add over 90 new partners to the mix. So we thought we were able to leverage those relationships very well. And then we really, in many respects, we're using our NBA playbook. So you see here, this is just a couple examples of where, we're engaging locally in the community. As I mentioned earlier, our players, they're living in the 17 markets. So they are just like NBA players. They're engaging with fans. They're doing community events. They're having events where they're playing against fans. All of these are great opportunities for us to engage at a local level and continue to build our fan base. And then it's not just the players that are accessible. One of the things we think, as we look to become a global sports, in a global esports league, what we think is our game is accessible. Like I mentioned, there's 1.5 billion people around the world that are comfortable with basketball. And so whether it's, our game is globally accessible, it's globally recognizable. We're rated E for everyone, which makes partners very comfortable with putting their brand next to us. And so we think that gives us a big advantage in attracting not just partners, but also casual fans, which we think gives us a unique advantage. So I just want to quickly touch on just some of the things we learned in year 1. First off, as you saw from that video, our players exceeded all expectations in every possible way. They're engaging, they're fun, they're exciting, they're super accessible. And so that led us to be able to get a tremendous amount of attention and love from not just fans, but also media. And so when you look at, we were on international programs, we were on, shows like The Jump, we were on Sports Center, we were on CNBC. So, and all of this was made possible because our players were so engaging. And that engagement and their openness and their candid nature also is great for our content. And so whether it is in their practice houses or in the community and doing events in the community, we found that this content was very well received on social media. We have 1.6 to 1.7 million social media followers just for the 2K League and from our teams. So, which is great at this point in our stage. And so, us being able to tell stories about compelling stories about how one player who was a college basketball player and he blew his knee out, and the 2K League actually kept him tied to basketball. Or we have another player who was very open and candid about how he lived in a very tough and dangerous environment, and he literally will say the 2K League saved his life. And so those are the kind of stories now we're just telling our fans, and we're finding that it's becoming great engagement for fans, help us grow our fan base, but also a great way for partners to leverage our content. And then probably one of the biggest learnings we had was the importance of giving our fans a voice in the broadcast. So I will say, and Kevin's backstage, Twitch has been an amazing partner for us in terms of just every single week we're having a call where we're saying, okay, what can we do different? What can we make better? And not on a year-by-year basis, but what can we do next week? And so, and the reason we had this aggressive approach is because in Twitch, you have on the right-hand side, you'll see here, we have the Twitch chat. And so we have about anywhere from 5 to 25,000 comments from fans on a normal broadcast. And that became a feedback loop for us. When we were implementing new things, we were getting immediate feedback of what's working, what's not working. And then the bigger surprise was we were actually getting direct ideas from fans. Whether it was simple things, though, they were telling us, hey, tell your DJ to play this song, and our in-studio DJ is doing song requests, essentially. But to even more significant things, we added our individual player cams during the season based on requests. We actually had we changed from a broadcast camera to what we call here the 2K cam, again, based on the feedback from fans. And so once fans realized that we were doing this, we were listening to them, that only kind of it threw gasoline on the fire. And so they loved the fact that they became even more engaged. So we still have a ways to go in terms of even improving our broadcast more, and we're definitely going to not ignore fan feedback in that process. So then just looking forward, just finishing up, as we look to grow this league beyond, beyond even year one and look into season 2 and beyond, focus on a couple key initiatives. One is we think this is the global league. And the only question is just how fast we're going to be even more global. But we have fans that are already global. We have players. We have 9 players that are global. We think there's opportunities for us to engage more fans, to find even more and identify more players in international and emerging markets to be able to bring over to the 2K League. And then also we have, while I mentioned the 10 million copies of 2K that are sold on the console version, there is a free online version that's played in China that has over 30 million registered users. So that's another audience we think we can certainly tap into as we grow the league. And then certainly last but not least, so far we'll have 21 teams as of next year, all NBA owners. We fully expect to have a franchise in the 2K League in China, Singapore, Hong Kong, London. The only question is when. It's going to happen, it's just when. So that is absolutely on our timeline, and we're excited and that's one of the reasons why we're here today. The other thing we're going to focus on is just bringing this. You saw that studio experience, which is fantastic. We want to bring that to more fans. So we're going to look at that in a couple ways. One is for the broadcast, we're going to add more microphones, more cameras to capture that excitement and that buzz, and bring that to the fans watching on Twitch. And then secondly is we played all of our games in New York City this first season. We're going to look to take our show on the road and to bring that studio experience to other markets. I mentioned that we're adding 4 more teams. We're super excited about these 4 teams. So we're adding a second New York team. We're adding a Los Angeles team with the Lakers, and then Atlanta and Minnesota. So 4 U.S. markets out of the top 15 U.S. markets. So we're excited about them joining the league, and we're also excited about the fact that we get a chance to engage with 4 more NBA fan bases and an opportunity to convert them to 2K League fans. And then the last thing we're really focused on is player diversity. So we had 1 female that actually made it incredibly close to making the 102, and we had 9 international players actually in year 1 of our 102, and we expect both of those numbers to grow moving forward. And number 1, we think it just improves the quality of our player pool. But secondarily, we actually think these individuals will end up being trailblazers to inspire people behind them to want to aspire to be in the 2K League. And we think that's just great for the league in general and for our growth. So as you can tell, we are very excited about just how the first season went. We're even more excited about what the future holds in season 2. And so I'm excited to work with hopefully some of you in the room as we look to propel this league into being a truly global sports league. And so with that, I thank you for your guys' time.